What's happening? It's Tuesday. You got Joe and Kyle with Win the Week
What up?
coming at you. What number are we on now, Kyle? We on, what is it, 17, right?
Getting up there, 17.
Win the Week 17, boys and girls. How about that? You guys know the drill. Get at us on our socials. So we had the weekend. Anything fun, Kyle? What'd you say? Was you're celebrating a birthday party?
Yeah, I was down in
Family
Florida. Family member had a birthday. Also was in Cleveland like the day before on Thursday. Was at the Browns game. So I've been bouncing around. Had a good weekend though. Saw some family, which was great. Got down to Florida, which is where I'm from originally. So overall it was a good weekend, but a little bit tired. It's been a long run, just back and forth between Nashville, Cleveland, Jacksonville. So I got the week here and ready to get this thing started. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, traveling can get to you, so it is important. Jet lag is a real thing for sure. So it's important to catch up on that recovery. I had some friends in town, so we had a great weekend. Always good to reconnect with, some buddies that, you can't see all the time. So you really cherish those moments when you can. But I had a good time. A lot of football, a lot of out and about, bouncing around in the city. So good to kind of get back to home base and kind of come back to center. So, but yeah, so with that, today's episode, we're going to focus on something called internal gratification. Okay. So kind of sounds like a mouthful, right? But internal gratification and kind of what that means and why that's really important. I believe that this is something that I would say majority of people out there that can really improve on. I think it's something that, as a society, we don't really put a lot of effort into it and why it is important. So this is something that Kyle and I definitely really wanted to hit on today, especially coming off of the interview that we had last week as well, that Jake kind of really talked about how mental health and meditation was really important to him. So Kyle, why don't you kind of give a little high level view of internal gratification to everybody?
Yeah. So internal gratification it's really interesting because it's a really tough thing to grasp when you think about it. Everything we see on social media, everything we see, advertising commercials is like, hey, you got to have this car, or, you need to go on this vacation, or you need to be wearing these clothes or whatever. And they say retail therapy, right? So like, hey, it helps you feel better about yourself. It's very temporary. So you get that little initial feeling of, hey, I bought this, it feels good, I've got it, and then it wears off.
Yeah, and listen, and we're all like that. I mean, heck, when I, come back to my door at my apartment and I see an Amazon package, yeah, we all do feel a little bit better when we see that, for sure, for sure.
Right. And so really the key here is getting away from that mindset of just that instant gratification of going external, going outside of yourself to find that happiness, whether that be buying something, or there's a million different things people do to try to make themselves feel better. But the reality is, if you can focus on yourself, and you can find ways to make yourself happy and find out what fulfills you inside, that's really what generates long-term happiness and real, belief in yourself. So it's tough. It's very hard. I'm guilty of it. Joe, I'm sure you are as well, where it's like, hey, yeah. It's tough. It's tough to really say, hey, like, I'm looking at all these things. Oh, if I can just get this car, if I can just get this house, if I can just get this promotion, then I'll be happy. And then maybe you get it, and then you're like, oh, well, it's this, but I got to get this as well. So it's always something that you're always trying to find. And once you get it, you realize maybe that's not really what's going to make me happy. And it starts with you. So that's kind of like a high level of it, Joe.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear kind of any information you have on it on your end.
I want to say that, what we're looking for and what we all should be looking for is long-term gratification, right? You buy something online, you get a package from X, Y, and Z, that's really short-term instant gratification. And you wake up the next day and now you're like, oh, well, now what? I'm gonna go back and buy something else new and wait a week for that to come or whatever it might be, right? I think, that's real short term, and then like you say, oh, you're chasing XYZ job or promotion or a certain pay threshold. And then once you get there, then what is it on to the next one, right? So that's a little bit longer term gratification, but that's not really long term at the end of the day, right? So I think it's really the most important part is sitting down with yourself and just figuring out what really makes you happy from a long term perspective, right? What do you really enjoy? And I think that more than anything is, you have to get to know yourself, right? And really figure out who you are, the things you enjoy, the things that you don't enjoy, and figure out, what are the positive things right now in my life that I can think of and that, influence me on a daily, weekly basis. And then what are some of the things that, are negative in my life that, to be frank, I don't need or kind of bring me stress, right? What brings me stress in my life, and trying to carve out a list of pros and cons, I think, on both of those is a good place to start, right, Kyle?
Yeah, for sure. And a good way to think about this is when you scroll Instagram, right? You pick up your phone, you're scrolling Instagram, and it just gives you that little, for whatever reason, it gives you that little quick satisfaction, right? But it's not really doing anything for you significantly. It's just filling a void. So what Joe is saying is right. And again, like we always come back to this, but it really is the building blocks and the principles of this whole podcast and this whole brand is the 10 ways to win. If you take everything else out and you put out all the noise, you're not worried about, all the future plans that you had, your house you want to buy, your car, this, that, and you just focus on the 10 ways that you can win the week. If you just were to specifically put the focus on that, you will find that things will start to improve for you. If you take your focus and your attention and your energy off of trying to find the next fix to be happy and get that short-term gratification, and you focus on those 10 ways and you really just make that your primary focus, you'll start to get a different sense of what makes you happy and what gives you real purpose, right? And you'll start to look at things differently too. And that's what I think is really important here is Joe said it too, like find what your principles are, find what grounds you, find what makes you happy and focus on those things and try not to get so, derailed or distracted by these things that don't really matter to just provide you a little bit of short-term fulfillment. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say on it, Joe. I would say just making sure that you really have a deep understanding of what makes you happy, what makes you, who you are and what your principles are. And then how do you build off that and continue to focus. And that way you're not having to go external to find happiness. You know that you've got what it takes and that you have it within you. And then that changes the way you look at the world too, because then, you're not having to search for all these external factors to make yourself happy. And you can just live your life and it really makes quite a big of a difference. Now I will say too, like me and you, we've got to work on this. It's not like we're telling you this and we know it. We've got to get better.
Yeah, I'll say the ones that really stick out to me when you were mentioning that, Kyle, is that's why socializing is important to me because I think, as humans, I think, if you ask anyone, hey, like, what are the things that really make you tick, and like, what are the things that you really enjoy? I think a lot of people will say, well, I really enjoy spending, quality time, with my family or, with my close friends, right? And that is one of the 10 ways to win. That's socialize. That's why it is so important to invest in those relationships socially with family, friends, you name it, because I think you'll find that that's going to be one of the things that does make you tick and one of those things that you do enjoy, right? One of those positive things that you want more of. And then
Right.
another thing that comes to mind is when we discussed having those career and personal goals. That's why those goals are so important that they're something specific to you, right? Because those goals will provide a success story and an area where you can celebrate once you hit those goals, right? Because I think another thing, especially in regards to, mental health and all of that stuff, is being able to give thanks and be thankful for things, right? Rather than just, okay, well, I got this, now I want this, I want that, this, that, the other. It's being able to be thankful to the things that you do have and being thankful for the goals that you are able to achieve.
Right. Yeah. And so for you, obviously you mentioned socializing and, working on goals for someone else. Hell, I just heard a quote from Tyson Fury where he said for him, if he's not working out, then he doesn't feel like he is in a good place mentally. So he's like, I may overtrain, but that's what gives him mental clarity and mental peace. So for him, it's working out. There's different things for everybody. So that's why it's really the big component of this is learning yourself. If you don't already know what makes you happy and what makes you healthy, is learning that, right? And so it is different for everybody. As Joe said, for him, it might be, socializing. For someone, it might be working out. For someone, it might be getting outside. For someone, it might be reading. Whatever it is, find out what that is, and make sure you can build on that. So that's kind of my takeaway here, Joe. And I think this is an important conversation to have, just because, again, it's so easy to get distracted and get away from, really thinking about what makes you happy and truly makes you happy, as opposed to just getting those quick fixes. So that's what I got on my end, Joe. You got anything else before we wrap up here?
I got one more that works really well for me. And I think sometimes we'll find when we're just setting our routine and we're stagnant and, you feel like you're in a rut, whatever it might be, I would challenge everyone out there to just try and do something that is a little bit outside of your comfort zone. That's why, I always give Kyle a couple jabs, the world traveler. But that's why traveling was on Ways to Win the Weekend, is because, traveling is something where you kind of get outside of your own comfort zone. You see a new culture, you see a new city. So if you're kind of in a rut or you're looking for ideas, try to do some little things outside of your comfort zone, or try to do something new that maybe you've never done before. Because I think you'll find it'll give you actually a nice, real positive rush that you can now realize, hey, maybe I really do enjoy doing X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. And if you didn't try it, you would have never known, right? So that's my last 2 cents. With that, we are looking forward to having you guys back on Thursday. We will have another interview coming on Thursday that we are very excited for. Some really good information for everybody out there. So looking forward to that, and appreciate you tuning in with us, and continue to win the week.
And we about to win the week. Hey.